Hi there, this is Soldier Ronan from Soldier Ronan Films, and welcome to another boutique label battle. Today's battle is all about Neil Marshall's wonderful little debut, Dog Soldiers, and the brand new 4K Blu-ray edition from Second Sight, versus the slightly older Scream Factory edition of Dog Soldiers. I mean, I also have a 4K Blu-ray German media book, but we're not going to talk about that one. Obviously, I can't tell you the quality of the 4K because I'm not 4K viable at this particular time. Dog Soldiers was a breath of fresh air when it came out in 2002. I mean, Neil Marshall is a genre filmmaker who wears his influences on his sleeve. You could argue his films aren't particularly original, but in general they're a lot of fun. And Dog Soldiers is just a wonderful film, as Neil Marshall says, to watch after you've been down the pub. It's kind of Blu-ray 4K restoration history is a bit sad, as kind of the original negatives, I believe, were burned or destroyed, so they had to find other prints to kind of restore. So we'll talk about the Scream Factory edition first. This came out a few years ago. So again, they were using different elements. This is a Blu-ray DVD combo pack. So the print in this is quite dark. Again, I can't remember what elements they were using, but again, the original theatrical print, I think, was lost or burned. Not deliberately burned, obviously. It wasn't Citizen Kane or anything. But again, at the time, this was pretty much the only way you could see it on Blu-ray, in slightly better quality than DVD. But again, it's not a brilliant print. The special features are commentary with Neil Marshall. Then we've got a making of, which features Neil Marshall, producer Christopher Figg, actors Kevin McKidd, Sean Pertwee, Darren Morfitt and Emma Cleesby, special effects artist Bob Keane, special effects supervisor, creature design Dave Bonniwell, production designer Simon Bowles, and DP Sam McCurdy. It's got a theatrical trailer and Neil Marshall's short film Combat, which is about a group of friends who go to a pub, but it's shot and has the sound effects of a war film. And a stills gallery. This is Region A, as it's Scream Factory. So again, at the time, this was pretty much an essential pickup to get if you wanted to actually see it in Blu-ray, even although the picture quality isn't the best. It had a bit of grain, especially a lot of it appears at night. So we'll go on to the brand new Second Sight release, which has been delayed a couple of times, again because of issues with the print and different elements, but it's well worth the wait. You get nice little art cards and images from the film. You also get a nice big thick booklet with images and essays, which is very wonderful. Again, this is really a soldier film with werewolves in it. Spoiler alert, it's 20 years old, rather than a werewolf film with soldiers in it. So you actually it is a very good example of a genre film done well, because you get so many of these genre films or mashup films that you don't care about the characters, but Marshall makes sure you actually care or are interested in the characters before things start kicking off, so they're not just victims or you just wait to see how they die. You're actually invested in these characters. Yes, they have soldier banter, but they are engaging and you actually like the characters, which is a quite difficult thing to do, it seems, because there's been so many of these films that you just do not care. Again, nice new artwork, and there's the 4K and the Blu-ray disc. So again, as I said, this has been delayed, but it's so well worth the wait. So in this new edition, you get 3 commentaries. You get the Neil Marshall commentary, one with Neil Marshall and other people, and you get a new commentary with a film critic. Apologies, I forget her name. You also get a new 40-minute interview with Neil Marshall, which is wonderful because he does always come across as being a really engaging character. And yes, he talks about Hellboy and his experiences on Hellboy. Again, I always like directors that are kind of self-depreciatory and don't, blow themselves up too much. So he does talk about Hellboy, his experiences with Hellboy. There's also a wonderful 35-minute interview with an author. Again, apologies, I forget his name. I've got rid of the J card in the back to tell me what his name is. And he talks about werewolves in cinema and the myth and legends of werewolves, and how there's kind of 2 kind of breeds of werewolf, if you like. The tragic kind of victim, unwanted werewolf, cursed, and then also the werewolf who actually quite enjoys being a werewolf, the sadistic werewolf, if you will. Then there's a video essay, again more about werewolves and the myths of werewolves, and again that's about 20 minutes long. There's the making of documentary from the Scream Factory. There's the short film Combat by Neil Marshall. There's trailers. So I mean, Second Sight, even though the release was delayed, they've put a lot of work into it. And the film itself, again, apologies because I can't speak on the 4K, but the Blu-ray, it's the best the film's ever looked. So they've taken their time. Again, it's not been an easy restoration because the original materials weren't there to make it a lot easier than it actually turned out to be. But the film looks as good as it's ever done. The blacks looks really good because again a lot of it is night, but it looks really good and really sharp, and it is better than that Scream Factory print. Again, this is probably a one-sided victory for the Second Sight release, but Scream Factory were the first to actually put it out on Blu-ray, and they did as good a job as they could with the elements that they actually had in the print. But the Second Sight release, if you're a fan of the film or you're a fan of genre films in general, or films that start as one thing and then take a left turn to something else, the Second Sight Dog Soldiers is an absolute essential release. It's absolutely stacked with extras. Again, if you have a soft spot for Neil Marshall, which I kind of do, it's an essential pickup. The 40-minute interview is wonderful about his early film experiences with his dad, and the extras, the work they've put in the extras is fantastic as well. And as I say, the film looks the best it's ever looked on Blu-ray. Again, apologies because I can't speak to the 4K, but that's a rather one-sided boutique label battle. But again, I think you have to give credit for Scream Factory for putting it out and actually getting a copy as early as they did. And also the German media book. Again, I can't speak on the 4K disc, but the Blu-ray is kind of similar to the Scream Factory print. And again, get a booklet in German, if you can speak German, and lots of images. That's got nice artwork as well. But I would highly recommend picking up the Second Sight. Again, I think there's a standard edition of the Second Sight, one out soon, if not pretty much at the same time. I think the official release is the 22nd of August for the Second Sight edition. I got it early just because I pre-ordered from Second Sight. But I would heartily recommend the Second Sight edition. Obviously, if you're a fan of the film. If you don't like the film, then I probably wouldn't bother buying it. So thanks very much for watching this boutique label battle. Again, apologies because I can't really make a statement on the 4K quality. Please let me know if you plan on picking up the Second Sight Dog Soldiers, or what you think is Dog Soldiers, and hopefully you'll join me again for more boutique label battles. This is Saul Ronan from Saul Ronan Films, saying farewell.